العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
Another way that it could happen is it goes over by the price. The price that I have to pay is the price that they actually agree upon. However, if it was worth 50,000 مثلا, and then Muhammad says to Abdullah, listen, I only got it for 30,000. I only sold it for 30,000. I only sold it for 30,000. Or the opposite. If it was worth 30,000, and he says to Abdullah, listen, I sold it for 50,000. I sold it for 50,000. So Muhammad has now sold it to Niyaz for 50,000, or he claims to have sold it to him for 50,000. Sah? Abdullah is going to get the shuf'ah, he's got to write the shuf'ah, sah? But how much is Abdullah going to pay? When in reality he sold it to him for 30. In reality he sold it for 30. He's going to pay an extra what? 20. So that's kind of fraud. Like, and if they do find out that has taken place, then he's still entitled to his 20. Like in the asl al-mas'ala li-isqatiha, that's the only way that it can come about in the madhab. طيب. Any masail on this before we move on?
What if Jamie sold at 50? What if Jamie sold?
That's fine, he only pays 50 when he's buying the third party out. He only pays 50. Right. Next bab al-waqfi. Bab al-waqfi, endowment, I think it's called in English, endowment. Surah al-Mas'ala. No, yeah, good question. It doesn't have to be equal partnership. It just depends on how much. Maybe 70-30, 80-20. It's just a partnership, as long as they've got a partnership. But obviously what he's paying later on has to coincide with the partner, the amount, the portion or the share that he owns. Like,
so if the person can't afford his share, but it still causes him harm, if he was to sell it, what would happen?
if the person...
So if Ali can't afford to pay Muhammad, for example, his share, but knowing Muhammad's going to sell it to someone...
I think he's given time. I think there was a masala that resembled that. He's given time. He's given time. He's given time to pay off. He's not forced immediately. Like, Bab al-Waqf. Waqf, what is Waqf? Waqf is when a person is alive and he gives money out, or a building out, or some sort of benefit out for it to be used fi sabilillah. For it to be used fi sabilillah. Mathalan, a person says, I am going to build a masjid, and that masjid is waqf lillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am going to build a masjid somewhere in London, and that masjid is going to be waqf. That item is called al-mawquf. Right? The one that is doing it is called al-waqif. I say that this masjid is going to be for the Muslims. So I am the waqif, I am the one that made the waqf. The masjid is the mawquf. And the mawquf alayhi are the Muslims, those that are benefiting from it. Is that understood? Obviously, the reward is what a person wants. And the benefit of it is what? The reward. So a person can do that in his lifetime, or he can say that this is going to be waqf after me. So mathalan, I can say this is a masjid that I build now, I'm building now, and it's going to be used by the Muslims. Or he can say, I'm going to allocate X amount of money here for a masjid to be built, and that is going to be waqf. Is that understood? Right. So the Shaykh says, rahimahullah, وهو يعني waqf is تحبيس الأصل وتسبيل المنافع. تحبيس الأصل وتسبيل المنافع. وهو تحبيس الأصل. It is withholding the asl. The asl, you're holding it off. Meaning the asl doesn't belong to anyone specifically. If anything, the scholars say, intaqala ila mulkillah, it is under the ownership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it is fi sabilillah. So the asl remains. This masjid that I built, that I'm saying I built, the masjid is always going to be there, right? The masjid itself. Even if 1 million people pray in there, will the masjid be destroyed? No, the masjid will be there. Will the masjid wear out like food wears out and so on? No, the masjid will be there. So tahbis al-asl, the asl is yuhbas, is withheld, is there. وَتَسْبِيلُ الْمُنَافِعِ, lakin the benefit, it goes over to the people. The people are benefiting from it. Mathalan, for example, someone builds a Manhaj Islamic. They build an Islamic institute, a college for example, or a university. And they say that is waqf lil Muslimin. Or waqf ala talabat al-ilm. It is a waqf for the students of knowledge. The Manhaj, the institute is there, the books are there, everything in that Manhaj is there as it is. No one can use that in any other way. No one can sell it off. No one owns it. Like in the manfa'a, the benefit, belongs to who? The people that have been allocated to use it. The talabat al-ilm. So a student can stay in there for 5 years, 10 years. They can study in there. They can come into the Manhaj, use the library. They can use the library. Take advantage of the books in the library. If there's policies, they can borrow the books out, and so on. But is it their property? No, it's not their property. So that is the meaning. It is withholding the asl, and it is letting the people benefit from the benefits of that specific one. It doesn't have to be just a masjid. It doesn't have to be institute. A mushaf. Mathalan, you take a mushaf to the masjid and you say that is waqf. That mushaf is waqf. That's why some of the masahif in the masajid you sign waqf on there. That's what it means. Someone has brought it to the masjid, and brought it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is now being used by the Muslims. So every time a person reads from that mushaf, the reward goes back to who? The waqif. It goes back to the waqif, the person that took the kitab mushaf to the masjid. Like, lakin, does that mushaf belong to the one that is reading it? No. Does it belong to the waqif, the one that has placed it there? Does it belong to anyone in the masjid, the imam? No. It is musha' bayn al-muslimin. It belongs to anyone from it is for anyone from the Muslims to benefit from. Right. Again, that could be the ma'ahid, masajid, manaf, any of it. Mathalan, a car. Someone can say, I am going to have a waqf, a coach, a 50-seater coach, which is a waqf to the students of knowledge. Every time there's a conference, they can use that bus and go to wherever the conference is. Is that understood?
Can they use it and then say, once I finish with that, I'm going to donate it?
No, we're coming to that. Right. The next mas'ala, hukm al-waqfi. What is the hukm of al-waqf? The hukm of al-waqfi. Right. The hukm, when we're talking about hukm taklifi, it is sunnah. It is a sunnah. Right? It is a sunnah. And all of the companions, or many of the companions, they would all have waqf, as we shall see in the matan. Every one of them, almost every single one of them had waqf. And the benefit of the waqf is that what? Even after your lifetime, your rewards are still going on. And we shall see the hadith, إذا مات الإنسان ابن آدم وقطع عمله إلى من ثلاث. طيب. So that is the benefit of al-waqf. So the hukm taklif is that it is a sunnah. And it has been narrated in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Mathalan, the hadith of Umar that we shall see in the matan. He was given land in the battle of Khaybar. And then he said to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, verily I've been given land and it is more beloved to me than anything else. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إن شئت حبست أصلها وتصدقت بها. حبست أصلها. That is where the fuqaha get the word حبست from. So if you want, حبست أصلها. The asl, you withhold it and you place it somewhere. It is sacred, no one can touch it. No one can own it, sell it and so on. وتصدقت بها, but you make it a sadaqah, so anyone can benefit from it. And Umar radiallahu anhu did so. Also the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, من احتبس فرسا في سبيل الله إيمانا بالله وتصديقا بوعده فإن شعبه وورثه وبوله في ميزانه يوم القيامة. Whomsoever gives out a faras in the cause of Allah, and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whilst believing in Allah and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everything that was done, he'll be rewarded for until Yawm al-Qiyamah. In his mizan, on the scales of good deeds, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said regarding Khalid, أما خالد in Kitab al-Zakah, أما خالد فإنكم تظلمون خالدا. Verily you are oppressing Khalid, when they said he wouldn't pay the zakah. قد احتبس أذراعه واعتده في سبيل الله. You're oppressing Khalid. Why? Because not only, forget about sadaqah, he's actually done waqf. His shields and his swords and all of the things that he would have for jihad fi sabilillah, he has placed it for fi sabilillah. So it is waqf. طيب. From there we see that the hukm taklif is that it is sunnah. Like when we look at the hukm al-wad'i, it is binding. It is aqd that is lazim. Aqdun lazimun. It is binding. Meaning, مثلا, I say now that this is a masjid and it becomes, يعني I أقف هذا المسجد أو أحبس هذا المسجد, or I put it as waqf في سبيل الله. From the moment I say waqf في سبيل الله, خلاص, that is binding. I can't now go back on it. And no one can take it, and all of the ahkam that will come in the bab, inshallah. But, so that is with regards to the hukm taklifi. The Shaykh says the next masala, وهو أفضل القرب وأنفعها إذا كان على جهة بر وسلم من الظلم لحديثه. So he said it is the best sort of voluntary act that a person can gain nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through, and the most beneficial. If it is in a way of bir, in a way of goodness, piety, if it is given out in a way of piety, وَسَلِمَ مِنَ الظُّلْمِ, and there is no oppression in there. Let's dissect it. وَهُوَ أَفْضَلُ الْقُرَبِ. وَهُوَ and afdal, put min afdal al-qurab, from the best of qurab. It
has min.
Say that again?
No,
Has it got min there? My one doesn't. Abdullah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, alhamdulillah, if it has. My one didn't have it in there. And the reason why I said min, because when you say وَهُوَ أَفْضَلُ الْقُرَبِ لَا يَسْتَقِيمُ الْكَلَامِ, it's not 100% correct, because there is that which is أنفع منه. علم مثلا. Al-ilm, when it's passed through the generations, what is connected to it? The preservation of Islam is connected to it. طيب. So وَهُوَ مِنْ أَفْضَلِ الْقُرَبِ. Now, also remind me, there's a part in the end that I want to know if it's in the matan as well. I couldn't find it in some mutun, but I found it in my one, so I will read it to you later to see if it's in your one. وَهُوَ مِنْ أَفْضَلِ الْقُرَبِ. Like, it is one of the best ways of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is one of the most beneficial ones to the Muslims. إذا كان على جهة بر, if it is by way of righteousness. What does it mean by way of righteousness? مثلا, building a masjid, building a ma'had, giving out masahib, books. طيب. What about if a person builds مثلا a theatre and he says هذا وقف لله, or a person builds a cinema and says هذا وقف لله? Is that على جهة بر? لا. What if a person builds a homeless institute, a shelter, and he says that is for all of the Jews and the Christians? Permissible or not? لا. not permissible. على جهة is not permissible. لكن على معين is permissible. The difference is على جهة, to say that this waqf, this shelter is for Christians and Jews. لا, it's not permissible. لكن to say that it is from مثلا an individual that is not a Muslim for him to benefit from, then that is permissible, because that is found in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sophia, she done waqf for her brother who was a Jew, the wife of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Umar radiallahu anhu, her sister called Hafsa, who was a non-Muslim, he done waqf for her. But that's على جهة عين, يعني معين, individual. لكن not على جهة a whole jiha, يعني whoever.
Doesn't jiha mean direction? I mean, like in the path of death. That was, but then giving shelter to non-Muslims, isn't that also part of?
To the non-Muslim, yeah, but to the non-Muslims.
So what's intended by jiha here?
Jiha and ayn. Ayn, مثلا you say this individual, يعني Muhammad from the people, or my child Ali, whatever. Jiha is a direction. For example, my children, my offspring, that is a jiha. So it is not mu'ayyan, yani your offspring could be 10, 20, 30, 40. It can go down for 10 generations. But when you say to Ali, that is ayn. طيب, على جهة تبيع وسلم من الظلم, and that it is safe from, it is free from dhulm, as long as there's no oppression in there. As long as there's no oppression in there. Sometimes what can happen is a person, he doesn't want to leave inheritance for his family. He doesn't want to leave inheritance for his family. So what does he do? He puts all of his mal and he says that is waqf lillah. He doesn't do it for the sake of Allah Jalla wa Ala, he does it for the sake of what? So that these are prevented, his family is prevented from inheritance. فيه ظلم. لحديث, due to the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عنه عمله إلا من ثلاث. So if a person dies, all of his actions end. إلا من ثلاث, except for three. إلا من, number one, صدقة جارية, صدقة that is جارية. أو علم ينتفع به, or a ilm ينتفع به, that people benefit from. أو ولد صالح يدعو له, or a righteous child that a person that makes dua for his parents. طيب, the very first is صدقة جارية. What is a صدقة جارية? صدقة جارية is that wealth that a person pays in his lifetime in order to benefit from for eternity. Or إلى ما يشاء سبحانه وتعالى. طيب. So waqf is a part of what? Sadaqah Jariyah. Waqf is a part of Sadaqah Jariyah. Sheikh Sami Saqayb, one of the students of Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, who also explains Manhaj Saalikeen, he mentions a benefit here, which is Sadaqah Jariyah is what? Is something that the person pays himself to benefit himself after his life, after he passes away. So مثلا waqf, or giving away his books مثلا Sheikh Albani rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatullahi wasi'ah, his maktaba, he donated it to Jami'ah Islamiyah. Many of the scholars have done that as well. Their maktaba is waqf لطلاب العلم, for the students of knowledge. So the sadaqah jari is that which a person himself pays after his lifetime. What happens nowadays is that a lot of times a child builds a masjid on behalf of his father, or a well, or any other righteous deed. That in reality is not sadaqah jariyah. That is ihda'u thawab. You're giving the thawab as a gift to your parents. Ihda'u thawab. Sahih, the ajr is there, lakin the meaning of sadaqah jariyah is that which a person pays, the Shaykh says, rahimahullah, hafidhullah, that which a person pays out of his own wealth. Or ilmin yuntafa'u bihi, or knowledge that is beneficial, or knowledge that people benefit from. Billahi alaykum. How many times do we say Sahih al-Albani? Or how many times do we say Fawzan said? Or how many times do we say Ibn Baz said? Or how many times even before that Imam Bukhari said, Imam Ahmed said, Imam Muslim said? Many of these imams, we mention them more than we mention our parents and our families. Definitely. We always make dua for them. Every time we're in a lesson we say, قال رحمه الله, قال الشيخ, مثلا الشيخ سعدي رحمه الله. How many times through the duration of the book have we heard قال الشيخ سعدي رحمه الله تعالى رحمة واسعة رحمة الله عليه رحمة واسعة, or علم ينتفع به. So it is worth striving for knowledge, so that a person spreads knowledge, so that knowledge can be benefited from. And don't forget the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, if a person teaches someone a khayr, he له مثل أجر العامل. He has the same ajr as the amil, the one that does it. Imagine every person that is guided by way of your ilm that you give pass, you will get their reward. طيب. أو ولد صالح يدعو له, or a walad that is salih يدعو له, or a walad that is righteous that makes dua for him. Walad, the child, and the biological child of the person. Like what can come under that is also what can be sadaqa jariyah his, or yad'u lahu, what can come under that is al-waladu bil-ilmi, the father by way of knowledge. Why? Because the alim, the sheikh to his students, he is like a father. Ubuwat al-ilm. He is like a father to them, and he guides them. So that father is Abul Jasad, the biological father is Abul Jasad, he is the father of the body. And the alim is Abul Ruh. He gives life to his soul. طبعا not gives life as in ربوبية الله سبحانه وتعالى, لكن he teaches him that which gives him life. From worshipping Allah Jalla wa Ala with Tawheed, Sunnah, seeking knowledge and so on and so forth. And knowledge, just like we have a lineage, tribes and so on, knowledge has a lineage. Knowledge has a lineage. So we find that our great Imams that are alive today, knowledge-wise, they're the descendants of who? Albani, Ibn Uthaymeen, Ibn Baz, Muhammad Aman Jami, Sheikh Muqbil rahmatullahi alayhi majma'in. The scholars that we have now, knowledge-wise, they're the descendants of these great Imams. And knowledge-wise, those great Imams are descendants of other Imams. And that is how the silsila works up to the Messenger salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. طيب. So that is from the next line that the Shaykh says, the hadith. So a person should strive to be from amongst these. And all of these can only be found for the alim. The alim can leave sadaqa jariyah, and he can leave ilmu yuntafa'u bih, and he can leave what? A walad that is salih, that makes dua for him. So all of that can only be found in the alim. In the alim. طيب. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنه, ابن عمر صدق رضي الله عنه, قال أصاب عمر أرضا بخيبر. Umar رضي الله عنه was given, or he gained a piece of land يوم خيبر. فأتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يستأمره فيها. He's asked, came to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم asking him for advice. فقال يا رسول الله, he said, يا رسول الله, إني أصبت أرضا بخيبر. Verily, I've been given an ard in Khaybar. لم أصب مالا قط وأنفس عندي منه. I've never been given mal, or I've never had mal that is more, or wealth that is more precious to me than this. فما تأمرني به? What do you command me with? Then the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, إن شئت حبست أصلها وتصدقت بها. If you want, you can withhold the asl, keep the asl, طيب, الصدقة جارية, وتصدقت بها, and you can leave the benefit of it as a صدقة جارية. قال فتصدق بها عمر. Then Umar رضي الله عنه, he left it as waqf. أنه لا يباع أصلها ولا يبتاع, it is not to be sold, ولا يورث, and it is not to be inherited, ولا يوهب, and it is not to be given as a gift. قال فتصدق عمر رضي الله عنه في الفقراء. So Umar left it out for the fuqara, specific to the fuqara, وفي القربى and his family, وفي الرقاب and the slaves to be freed, وفي سبيل الله and in the path of Allah جل وعلا, يعني jihad, وابن السبيل and the wayfarer, the traveller, والضيف and the ضيف, the guest. لا جناح على من وليها, there is no harm upon the one that is the nadig, that looks after it, أن يأكل منها, for him to eat from it بالمعروف, in goodness, أو يطعم صديقا, or for him to feed a friend, غير متمول فيه, as long as he does not hold and look after, يعني hold up and keep the goods. طيب, متفق عليه. طيب, this hadith رضي الله عنه, Umar رضي الله عنه, there are many benefits in there, and the majority of ahkam for what are found in this hadith. The very first one is إن شئت حبست بها, and حبستها. The fact that Umar set up, it was like a charitable trust. It was like a charity trust. So he حبس الأصل. So that's the first hukum that we find in the mas'ala. So he kept the asl, meaning it no longer belongs to Umar. It no longer belongs to Umar. It belongs to whoever Umar laid it out for. Like aslaha, it's asl. وتصدقت بها, and the second hukum is that the sadaqah or the benefit of that, whatever mal comes out of it, or whatever usage is for whoever Umar placed it out for. Right. The next hukum is لا يباع أصلها, لا يباع أصلها. The asl cannot be bought. It cannot be sold. It cannot be sold and it cannot be bought. It cannot be sold and it cannot be bought. So a masjid is waqf. You can't buy a masjid because it is waqf. It doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to the Muslim community. There is no mulk in the masjid. And if there's any, like مثلا the mushafs that are in the masjid, they don't belong to anyone. It is waqf. So no one can own it. You can't take it now. Can't take it home. You can't say that you can't sell it on. You can't buy it because it is waqf. ولا يباع أصلا. ولا يورث, and it is not to be inherited either. So مثلا that land in Khaybar, when Umar radiallahu anhu died, can Ibn Umar and his children, the children of Umar radiallahu anhu, can they inherit it? ليش؟ لا يورث. It is not to be inherited. Why not?
He doesn't own it.
He doesn't own it, son. He doesn't own it. You only inherit that which you own. A person can only inherit that which his father owned. And his father did not own this land because it was waqf to the Muslimin. وَلَا يُوهَبُ, and it is not to be given to whoever wants, whoever you want. It can't be given as a gift. It can't be given as a gift to someone. طيب. مثلا, if there's a mushaf, I can't say, listen, you know that mushaf? Since you need to memorize the Quran, you want to memorize the Quran, take this mushaf home. Keep it with you. That is not permissible because that cannot be la yuhab. As for borrowing it, that's something else. Like to be given it, that is not permissible. So then Umar radiallahu anhu, he gave it to the fuqara and his family and so on. طيب. The next masala is لا جناح من وليها. وليها. That is called a nadir. طيب. There was a question in the exam that there are 4 people that are entitled to look after wealth. What were they? The wakil, the wasi, the wali, and the what? And nadir hadahu. That is it. The nadir is the one that is looking after the waqf. The nadir is the one that is looking after the waqf. That nadir can be the person himself. It can be Umar himself, مثلا. But what Umar can do is you can choose someone, allocate someone, assign someone to look after the park, make sure that the land, make sure that it's well maintained and so on. مثلا, a masjid. If a person builds a masjid, they can say that the nadir of this masjid is fulan min al-nas, Ahmed. Ahmed is the one that's going to be the nadir. He's going to look after it. Why? Because he lives close to the masjid and so on. And he's responsible and reliable and so on. So the nadir is the person that looks after the waqf. It could be the one that is the waqif, the one that actually gives out the sadaqah in the first place, the waqf. Or it could be someone else that he chooses. So what is permissible for him? أن يأكل منها بالمعروف. He is allowed to eat from it upon goodness. Khaybar, and he had dates and so on. So he can eat from those dates with goodness. Every day if he wants or whatever. Or he can get his friends, he can feed some of his friends. If he's going to his friend's house, he can take some of the dates with him, for example. غير متمول. Like he can't obviously now own this and sell it and benefit from it in terms of buying and selling and transactions and dealings and business wise. No?
So in terms of like a contemporary example, masajid, the Muslims gather, put money together with a masjid. The Muslims gather together, put money together with a masjid. So from the start, there is not also work if everyone that put money together, right? So then, who gets to determine the nadir in this case?
Who gets to be?
Determine the nadir. Because
the management committee. The committee will be the ones that are the nadir.
The people that organise the donations.
The people that organise the donations that open the masjid up in the first place.
Well, it's not their money.
Huh?
It's not their money, it's the money.
They're not saying it's their money. They're the nadir. The nadir doesn't own it. The nadir is not saying it's his money. He's maintaining it.
But doesn't it work if appoint the nadir?
Like in the circumstance where that is possible. مثلا الآن, if we're living in East London, say, مثلا a person builds a masjid here for escape. Like the whole community, let's say, I don't know, 100,000 people build a masjid. Are we going to go to 100,000 people and ask them who the waqf is going to be? No, nothing's going to be. Like given the circumstances, there has to be a person that is in charge of the building. There has to be a person who's registered on the tenancy agreement. That person is going to be another. And the masjid committee, or the trust or the committee. So they decide, obviously, the rules and regulations, and they preserve the masjid, they maintain the masjid, they make sure there's enough funding, they make sure that the bills are paid and so on, they make sure there's an imam and so on and so forth. That would be the waqf, the nothing. طيب. The next mas'ala, obviously, when you're doing a waqf, it has to be على جهة البر. It has to be upon righteousness. You can't give out things that are haram as waqf. You can't say this guitar is going to be waqf lillah. It's not possible. Or a place where fawahish take place, you can't say that it's going to be lillah. That is haram. Let me finish. Questions after you. Let me just finish. I want to finish the chapter. The next mas'ala is, what can be given out as waqf? Does it have to be aqad, or can it be manqulat? Does it have to be something that aqad, you know what I mean, sah? Does it have to be manqul? You know what I mean. Does it have to be something that remains, or can it be something that runs out? Meaning, a masjid will always remain, sah? The structure of the building will always remain, inshallah. Lakin, can I say, for example, this car is waqf? Or can I say, for example, these dates are now waqf? It's Ramadan. Can I say I'm using these dates as waqf? 10 kilos of dates, waqf for the masjid, for the musallim, for the Muslims that are fasting to break their fast with. Is that permissible? Is it waqf part of sadaqah? In the hadith, it doesn't have to be constant. So, obviously there's a khilaf in it. Some say that it has to be, like it can be, even if it's not a constant benefit. Even if it's not a constant benefit, as long as it's something that the Muslims can benefit from, even if it's for a limited period of time, then it is permissible to lend out. It is permissible to have as well. We've talked about mulk. It doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to them. It's fi sabilillah. The Shaykh says, rahimahullah, wa afdaluhu, and the best of it is, the best of what? The best type of waqf is anfa'uhu lil Muslims, the most beneficial to the Muslims. That is the best type of waqf. That is the best type of waqf. Beneficial to the Muslims. مثلا, having an institute for students of knowledge, a ma'had that is free for students of knowledge, that is beneficial to the students. Which is more beneficial to the Muslims, to say that this ma'had, this institute, is used as an institute for the students of knowledge, or to say, no, I'm only going to build, like mathalan, a food bank for the poor people to come and eat? Which is more beneficial to the Muslims? The ma'had. Why? Because when they come, they learn, and then they pass on that knowledge, and it affects, it's more beneficial for the whole community. Whereas if it was for the poor people to come in and eat and so on, it would only benefit them. So وَأَنْفَعُهُ لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. طيب. وَيَنْعَقِدُ بِالْقَوْلِ الدَّالِ عَلَى الْوَقْفِ وَيَنْعَقِدُ. Right, the next message is وَيَنْعَقِدُ, and it becomes binding, by using or via words that indicate that it is waqf. So waqaftu, or habbastu, or I have made this as waqf. All of these are clear words. And sometimes it can be an action, i.e. the person says, I'm going to build a masjid. Now masjids are always what? Waqf. Masjids are always waqf. A person pays for sabilillah. So that is going to be a sign that it is waqf. There are supporting evidence or qara'in that show that he meant that it is waqf. Right. It is waqf. Right. So with regards to the wording, it is wording that shows that it's habbastu, sabbantu, waqaftu. Now. And we've already talked about the aqd of al-wad'i. It is what? لازم. It is لازم. Then the Shaykh says ويرجع في مصارف الوقف وشروط ويرجع في مصارف الأرض وفي شروطه يعني وشروطه إلى شرط الواقف حيث وافق الشرع. طيب. The next mas'ala that the Shaykh is telling us is with regards to how to use that waqf. How? It goes back to the conditions that the waqif laid out. Who's the waqif? It goes back to the conditions that he laid out. The conditions that he laid out. حيث وافق الشرع, as long as it coincides with the Sharia. مثلا, a person says, this Manhaj is for students of knowledge from this country. مثلا, for example, let's say now we're in Saudi Arabia, right? And there's a Manhaj. And someone says, right, this Manhaj is for British students of knowledge. This Manhaj, who is allowed to take advantage of it? Benefit for British students of knowledge. No one else. طيب, that's one masala. Lakin, the scholars also mentioned that if you're taking it to something which is even more greater benefit, which is a greater benefit, then that can also be done. So in this situation, if a person says, it is for the students of knowledge from Britain, right? A person is allowed to say, like, all of the students of knowledge from the West are allowed to benefit from this. Is understood? Why? Because the benefit is now greater. Like in the asl is that these conditions should be looked after and should be preserved. That's why the scholars, they have a qa'ida and they say shaddul waqifi kan nassi shari'i. Shaddul waqifi kan nassi shari'i. The shadd of the waqif, the condition of the waqif, kan nassi shari'i, it is like the nas of the sharia. It's like the text from the sharia, from the Quran and the Sunnah. Wajh tashbih, how is the resemblance? It is not saying that his conditions are exactly like Quran and Sunnah. Like from what angle? From the angle of it being lazim, binding. From that angle, from it being binding. طيب. So there are shurud that are haram, that he places. Those obviously are not to be considered. Then there are shurud that are acceptable according to the Sharia. Those conditions have to be looked after and preserved. طيب. Also, if a person, the nadhir, if he finds that there are conditions that coincide and give him a greater benefit, then that will also be justified. Right, I'm going to say a hadith, or two ahadith, and I want you to show me the mahal shahid to the mas'ala that I've just said. Mathalan, a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يوم الفتح, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, inni nadartu in fatah Allahu alayka Makkah. Ya Rasulullah, I gave another an oath that if Allah opens up Makkah for you, and usalliya fi Bayt al-Maqdis, that I pray in Bayt al-Maqdis. Pray, yani salah. فقال, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him, صليها هنا, pray here, يعني where? Makkah. فسأله فقال صلي, so he asked him again, the Messenger again. The Messenger, صليها هنا, pray here. فسأله, and then he asked him again. Yani he asked him about Bayt al-Maqdis. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sha'nuka idhan, do that which you wish then. Do that which you wish." Right. What was the message that I said?
Something is a greater benefit.
So I said, for example, only students of knowledge from Britain can benefit from it. If the Nadir sees fit, then he can say that all of the students from the West can benefit from it. Because it is greater benefit for the waqif. Is that permissible? Right? Where does this hadith, where's the mahal shahid? Put your hand up if you know. Where's the mahal shahid? What on earth is the connection between Bayt al-Maqdis, Makkah, and what we just said?
Is it because praying in the Kaaba is more rewarding than praying in Bayt al-Maqdis?
So praying in Makkah is a lot more rewarding than praying in where? Bayt al-Maqdis. So in reality, you've gone a level higher. So you will get more reward. طيب, is that for the benefit of the one that is given the waqf or not? Is that not maslaha better for him or not? طيب, it's better for him. طيب, نعم. And also there's a similar hadith where the man said he's going to pray salat in Bayt al-Maqdis. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Salatun fihi afdalu min alfi salatin fima siwahu masajid, to show that it is better. And the reason is, طيب, so that is that masala. So we have to abide by the conditions that that person laid out. That's number one. What is after حيث وافق الشرع? What does it say on your matan? What does it say on your matan?
after وافق الشرع
حيث وافق الشرع
ولا يباع إلا أن
ولا يباع
إلا أن تتعطل
ولا يباع. I don't know why Imam says والشهود إلى شرط الواقف حيث وافق الشرع فالشهود واقف مستحب. It mentions two lines which just explains what I just said. Like I've looked at some other mutun as well and it doesn't coincide with this. طيب, ولا يباع إلا أن تتعطل منافعه. طيب, فيباع. ولا يباع, and it is not to be sold. What is not to be sold? The waqf is not to be sold. إلا أن تتعطل, unless the manafi' or the benefit of that waqf becomes non-existent. فيباع, in that case it is to be sold. ويجعل في مثله, and it is put in, and the money is put in في مثله, in the like of it. أو بعض مثله, or in some of the like of it. طيب, مثلا الآن سورة المسألة, there's a masjid has been built مثلا, طيب, and it's been built in a village and there were a lot of people living in that village. طيب, لكن due to the drought people moved out of that village, then they moved far away, 10, 20, 30 kilometers away and so on, even further. The village is as it is. The masjid is as it is, right? But no one's benefiting from it. And the wild animals now live there and use it as a stable for the horses and so on and so forth. It is used for that. Right? No one benefits from it. It is no longer used. Should we say that هذا وقف, that is a masjid and it can't be used, it can't be sold? Or should we say we're going to sell the masjid and we're going to move it to another village that people can benefit from? Huh? We do that. No, we do that. That's what the Shaykh says, وَلَا يُبَعْ إِلَّا أَن تَتَعَطَّلَ مَنَافِعُ, and there's no way of it being used. Right? There's no way of it being used. Or another example is, for example, if the masjid is just rotten, if the masjid has become past itself, but the ceiling is falling off, the pillars are falling off, what are we going to say? Leave it as a waqf, and when we go in there, if it falls down, it falls down. If we die in there, we die in there. You sell it off, خلاص, build another masjid. طيب, فيباع ويجعل في مثله, and it is to be sold, put in the like of it, يعني in another masjid. Or if there's not enough money in there and the money that it was sold for is not enough, في مثله, يعني the like, it can go towards a masjid, towards another masjid. So for example, the example that we had, that village, maybe 20 years ago, it was built, went for 50 grand, probably 50,000. Lakin, when it's in this state, it might even go for 5,000, right? Like, when we take that when we sell it and we take 5,000, now we've got 5,000, and we want to build a masjid elsewhere, are we going to find a masjid for 5,000? No. But we may find other people build a masjid, and we can put it towards that. Is that understood? That has to happen. Why? Because it is more beneficial for the waqif and the mawquf alayhi. هذا أنفع وأصلح للواقف والموقوف عليه. It's better for the person that actually made it a waqf in the first place and the one that it is being. Why? Because he gets more reward. And it's better for the mawquf alayhi because they benefit from it more. Whereas in this village, no one's benefit from it. Like if you move it to another place, then the benefit will be a lot more. طيب. ويجعل في مثلها. So there are two situations when we're allowed to change it. The waqf, when we're allowed to sell it or change it. Al-hajjah, the need, and if there's a maslaha rajiha, a greater benefit. A hajjah, number one, and the greater benefit. and the greater benefit. طيب. خلاص. That is Bab al-Waqf in summary. Inshallah next week we'll go over to Bab al-Hiba wal-Atiyya wal-Wasiyya, and that is the last chapter from Kitab al-Buyu'.